Hello, everybody. We are live, and I'm very honored today to be able to have Nelson with me, who is the founder of PixelGeek. He is also a very good, what do you call it, Webflow master, I would call him. He might not self-proclaim himself that way, but he's been in the no-code community for a very long time. He's been building things even before the term no-code was around. Nelson, thanks so much for joining us today. I'm super stoked to talk about all this stuff.
Well, thank you for having me.
So let's jump straight into it. Why don't you tell us about this amazing community called PixelGeek?
So the PixelGeek community is something. It's just a way for me to open up the doors for people to get more help in the no code community, especially the Webflow community. It wasn't something I was like set out to do from the beginning. I started my YouTube channel back in 2013. Or was it 2013. And I did it because I learned about this cool tool called Webflow.
Webflow?
Yeah, Webflow. So I learned about it at a web design conference in 2013. And after getting closed beta access and playing with it for just 1 hour, I needed to tell the world. And I became such a fan of it. And at the time, it was only a landing page builder. There was no CMS. There was no multi-page. You couldn't put custom code. It was very, very basic. But for me to be able to not have to design inside of Photoshop at the time and then cut out all the images and then recode my design and have Photoshop on one side and then Sublime on another side, to be able to not have to do that and just see my CSS and HTML written automatically was amazing to me. So it blew my mind, and I was like, I need to tell the world about it. And one of the ways I wanted to tell the world was start my YouTube channel. And still to this day, I have the first ever Webflow review YouTube video out there. So if you want to see my potato quality YouTube video, it's still on my channel, and I use that as a way to remind myself where I began. But yeah, it started so cool. There. Just me trying to tell the world, hey, there's this cool new tool that could really save you some time. And as the community grew, I wanted to make more videos to help the community. And then 2.5 years of just evangelizing Webflow and helping on the community, the official community forums, and speaking about it at meetups. The CEO of Webflow, Vlad, asked me to join the team, and I've been part of the customer support team ever since. So 5 years in counting. And so
that is so cool.
Where did the PixelGeek community come in? So I would get all these DMs from people and YouTube comments and Instagram DMs, and they're saying, hey, Nelson, can you help with this? Nelson, can you help? And I wish, my heart wants to help as many people as possible, and I wish I could, because that's how I got started in this. I was helping people on the forums, and then helping people on tickets, but I can't help people personally at all times, and I want to. So hopefully this is the PixelGeek community is another way for no coders to get help from a more tight-knit community. And so that's why I built the PixelGeek community.
No, that's so exciting. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I mean, it's just like, I think a lot of people have that feeling. I think the Webflow is like a gateway drug into no code. It's like the kind of thing where like you can play around for a short amount of time, realize how powerful it is, build the confidence to be like, I can do something, right? And it doesn't have to be something crazy, but I think a lot of people, that barrier itself is a place where people, they're just like, I'm not technical. And I feel like that is fundamentally changing, and the easiest way to get people to realize that they can do even like anything without having to code. Like Webflow is a great tool to do that. So how have you seen Webflow evolve over the past 5 years, I guess, since you started the channel?
Well, I started the channel in 2013, and how I've watched Webflow grow was just update after update. Just got me hooked because it was like a new toy to play with, and like that's why I love web design so much is because you learn one thing, and then a week later, there's a new piece of technology, there's a new piece of code, there's a new trick or a tool, and it's all relatively free or very low cost.
Yeah.
Because like HTML, when I first started back in the GeoCities days, before it was bought out by Yahoo, for you Zoomers, go ahead and wiki that. I learned HTML for free. And then there's this thing that came out called YouTube where you can learn other things for free. And it just kept snowballing there. And so whenever something new came out, it was free. And I wanted to play with it like it was a new toy.
Yeah.
And so how I watched Webflow evolve was, again, it started as a one-page landing builder page. And then they came out with, hey, you can make multiple pages. Hey, you can add custom code. And every time they added a new update, I would go on the forums and just celebrate with the rest of the community, like, oh my God, now we can experiment even more and do things. And then Webflow interactions came out. Dude, that just, what?
So explain to the community what that means.
Yeah, so you can create interactions, meaning hover effects, mouse over effects, parallax scrolling, a lot of stuff that you would use JavaScript or jQuery or some sort of JavaScript plugin for your websites to do some animation or some sort of interaction. You could do it in Webflow without coding, and that just made me go like, what? Whoa. And then they added CMS, and then they added interactions 2.0. You can just go to webflow.com/updates and you'll see everything that the team has worked on from beginning till present. And it is just so awesome to see. And they are not stopping. Obviously, it's just going to get better and more fun. And just watching it evolve is just, if you're not part of the ride yet, I mean, get on board, because like there's so much to learn and so much to do without having to code. And just, especially for designers, just build something, even if it's super crazy, just go.
Yeah, totally. And just a disclaimer for the audience out there, Nelson and myself are totally biased. Like, we love Webflow.
Yeah. I mean, I'm when people say like Webflow master, I'm just a Webflow fan who's been clicking buttons for 7 years. That's it. And there's people who are clicking buttons faster than me and learning faster than me, and I'm like, they're the master. There's this one community member named Sarkis.
Yeah, we had him on.
Civilization 4, a video game inside of Webflow. And you have this other community member, Mackenzie Child. He's building the Webflow UI inside of Webflow. How meta is that? So I mean, just okay, I'm done.
Yeah, no, but it's super exciting. No, I think that's like, and I think that those kind of people who are building stuff that doesn't, I don't know, like Sarkis, what he always says is like, they're like, he's doing this for the impact that it has on, to show what's possible. Like, he's not doing like, Civilization 4, that's not going to become a startup. Like, he's not going to make money from that. Like, this is literally him saying like, hey guys, the tools are more powerful than you could even imagine. And Civilization 4 came out just a couple of weeks ago. And before that, he was the PlayStation guy, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's how we all,
Yeah.
And so
PlayStation 4 UI menu system or and you can create that inside of Webflow. Like, imagine coding all of that, all the JavaScript and everything.
Yeah, it's insane.
He still had to add custom code, but it's not like he coded the whole thing.
Yeah. No, it's insane. And when you look at the number of elements and the number of things that it's just insane how large this project is and how amazing the graphics are too, right? So it's like, we'll have to post below this thing. So what are some of the other like crazy? Oh, before that happens, we have Aaron that's just popping in to say hi. I guess he loves you. So Aaron, thanks for sending your love. It's much appreciated.
Yeah, he was on my Yeah, actually, no, I was on his show. All things, automate all the things. So AATT.io, just giving a shout out to him because he, when it comes to different no code masters, like he understands how to connect data from one platform to another, and it's just amazing to see all these different paths you can take into the no code space.
Yeah.
Um,
So for
and
that, is it more? Is it like a Zapier? Is it Integromat? Is it what kind of tools is that those data interactions? What how are those taking place?
you can use, so what I know is there's Zapier, Integromat, and Parabola, but I am not a master at any of those. So I'm learning from people like Aaron to do that kind of stuff. And it's just fun because the no code world is now kind of like Lego bricks, where um, you can just dump it all on the table and see how they fit together.
Yeah.
And that's it, you know?
Super interesting. And I
Mhm.
think that like when we talk about no code tools, we can kind of separate them into two. When I think of Webflow, for me, it's one of those tools that you can integrate really nicely with other tools like Airtable, like MemberStack or MemberSpace, or or Zapier. And then you have others which seem to want to do everything, like all-in-one builders.
Mhm.
And there I'm thinking of things like Bubble or like Adalo. Is I mean, it seems like Webflow is moving in a direction where they're integrating a lot of capabilities of their own. How do you see that moving forward? Like, I don't want you to say anything that you can't say live, but
Yeah.
do you have any like insight on the direction that's taking for Webflow?
Well, yeah. So Webflow did announce a couple of things during the Webflow Virtual World Tour that happened recently, and they announced things like a better way to create components, also user registration, so you can do stuff like MemberSpace and MemberStack, and also logic flows. So they've announced those type of things, but I don't have dates,
Yeah,
and if
yeah,
I did, I would never say them.
yeah.
But
So he may or may not have dates for the audience watching right now. We will never know. No.
like, but to me, software development is tough. I call the engineers, any engineer in any team, magicians, because that is a hard life. Because you're trying to do something no one has done before, and you're stretching the power of code for the people who would rather build than code. So, I mean, thank you to all those magicians, you engineers out there. Thank you so much for doing the hard work so we can play,
Yeah,
basically.
I love that. And I think there is this sincere love coming from the no code community to coders, even though it's called no code, because these are the people who have basically built or written the lines of code that now allow people like us to be able to go out there and to build things with those things that have already been built.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that it's always been seen as like this, oh, like no code, it's the end of developers. Like I don't see that ever being the case.
No, no, no. And whenever I hear that, or someone give me that question, like, okay, so you're trying to take away my job. And I'm like, whoa, 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 no, no. And I always equate no code tools to what they are, tools. It's just a natural evolution of tools. For example, if you had a scenario where you have a nail and your task is to put it through a piece of wood, you can take a rock. Okay, just find a rock, smash it down on the nail, you're good to go. But what's easier than using a rock? A hammer. It has a nice grip, has good weight to it. Smack it on the nail, you're done. That's a natural evolution. But what's easier and faster than a hammer? A nail gun. Pap, 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 you're done. It's streamlined. You don't have to use as much force. But do the people who are there people who are like, no, I would rather use a rock because it's more manual and like it like that? I'm like, no, come on. How many construction teams are using rocks to build a house? Zero. All right. So it's just a natural evolution. And so it gives tools like Webflow give developers more more time back, so they don't have to write HTML, CSS, all the basic stuff. They can write code that's for the future. They can
Yeah.
do more interesting projects rather than, hey, can you take this Adobe XD or Figma or, God forbid, Photoshop document and make it into a custom WordPress theme? Really, like, that job is gonna go away, and the world is not going to stop for you. All right. You need to continually learn. The internet always evolves.
Yeah.
When the first iPhone came out, mobile web pages were still big web pages that you have to zoom into with 2 fingers. Now we have responsive design. We didn't just stop at, okay, we're going to just keep websites all 960 pixel width. No, we had to evolve. And so tools are evolving, and it's helping people learn more better things.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I do remember that time where like basically like the phones that came out were like so amazing, like smartphones started coming out, and then you'd open any website and it looked terrible. Like there were like there were literally no websites that were good. And I think that's where like, so okay, that's a really interesting thing. Let's get geekier in here. So I've always said that like native mobile apps provide a huge barrier to entry because you force people to download them. And do you think that native mobile apps have a future? A, B, do you think they might be taken over by sort of progressive web apps? And how do you see that evolution happening? Because if you think about it, I think we're all using like maybe like what 5 apps on our phone on a regular basis. The rest is like we'll maybe download once and delete after a couple months.
Whenever there's like I meet someone and they're like, oh, I need to make an app for this. Like they're a business client. They're like, oh, yeah. Can you make an app? And I always respond back. I'm like, do you need an app? How many things of the actual hardware of a phone will you be really taking advantage of? Do you really need the gyroscope, the flashlight, the accelerometer, the the cameras? Do you need any of the specific hardware to access in order to do your business, to convert? If the answer is no, then you can easily make a responsive website out of it, and it'll do everything you really need to convert that user into whatever, filling out a form or buying something off of your website. So it's not really needed. And so
no, that's great. No, and I think you kind of said it without saying it there, where it's like there's a fundamental misunderstanding of what it really means. Like, what is an app? What is a website these days? Like, and why people would need to have an app. It's literally to be able to access the hardware on the phone.
Yep.
So there are certain very small limitations. When you, the other thing is to get into the app store. I think people are kind of seduced by, I want to be in the app store. And it's like, well, did you know that 90% of the apps in the app stores are zombie apps that are basically just lying there and no one's using them? And people are like, oh, really? It's like, well, yeah. So I think it's a problem in education. I think people kind of have gotten sold into this idea of like, I need to create the next app for this because they've seen in the news that apps are selling for billions of dollars to Facebook with 10-person teams.
and that's where my problem sits with how with a lot of communities and apps and, well, just people in general. If your first thought is, I'm going to make this because I want to make money, you lost me as a fan. If you are trying to make something positive by helping someone else, even in a very small way, and you're trying to build something small to help brighten someone's day, to help someone learn something, to help pass on positive information, especially in this year. I'm a fan of you, and that's another reason why I built the PixelGeek community. Um, was that I want to show, I want to celebrate the humans of the no code community. And that's why if you go to pixelgeek.community right now, the first thing you see are faces. These are people who I've actually interacted with or helped in the past years with building something in Webflow or any other no code tool, um, through forums or through my YouTube channel, because I built this in a way where it's like, hey, let's celebrate everyone's wins and celebrate everyone's failures. And my tagline up there, my tagline every video that I do, is make the web beautiful together, because we're all in this together. And if you're just looking for the money, then that's not really making the web beautiful. You're just in it for yourself. If I can pass, I have all of these resources that was given to me because I was so grateful to get a job at Webflow. And at that moment, I'm like, I need to find a way to give it back. It's not for me to hold in. This is not fair if I just, cool, I got a job and I'm just going to sit here and like, no, I have to give it back. So I've been trying to find ways to give it back as much as possible. And how the universe works is when you give back, it comes back to you twice as much. And so you have to put even more effort to throw it back out there into the world. And so that's what I'm doing. And that's what I hope people get out of the community. That's what I hope people get from my videos, is that take this knowledge that I'm giving to you and pass it forward. It shouldn't be kept to you. You learn something new, teach me it. I want to teach someone else. And it just should snowball from there.
Yeah, no code becomes kind of a responsibility as soon as you realize the capabilities of it. That was something that I definitely felt early on in the accelerator that I was running, when I was seeing so many people make the wrong decisions when it came to product. And it was like, hey, like guys, like there are all these tools out there that you can use to validate your business, And a lot of these people, like they go in, like some of these people come in with the mindset of wanting to build a business. And so that would maybe go against what you said earlier, which is like trying to make money. Like, but the reality is like people are kind of burnt out by the corporate world, and they want to create self-reliance, and they want to build something that they enjoy doing, where they can be their own boss. And so I think it's like, it's this really interesting thing where it's like, I definitely think that everyone has to give back once they learn anything that has to do with the no code community. But I'm also a believer that like this has the power to empower people to like potentially, replace the income that they're making at their job, and doing something that they enjoy. So I think as long as, for me, I'm seeing that people are being able to like lean back into the passion and not give up on themselves. That's what excites me, I think.
Yes.
And of course, along the way, as you learn, it's like bring other people with you, because you were once where they are.
Mm-hmm. No one is perfect. No one is the master of anything. Everyone is continuing learning. And the weird life philosophy paradox thing that I learned is the most perfect people in the world are the ones that think they're imperfect.
Absolutely. There's also that other quote, which is like, the people who have the most confidence, like the most intelligent people have the least confidence.
Yes.
And and so they know that they're flawed. And so that comes with a lot of insecurity and with a lot of things, which basically makes it more difficult to stand up in front of people and be like, I know everything, which is when we actually, it's funny because the word con man comes from confidence man. That's what, so it's like, that's the way that people trick people. It's by acting like they know everything. And then people are like, oh, I need to follow that person. And I think that there's just like, bring like the ability to bring yourself down, your ego down, and to be like, hey, like, you're no better than any other one of us humans.
Exactly.
We are all humans. We all share that. And I think that it's an empowering thing to be able to help other people. And yeah, it's like, I think this world is just so driven by ego. And
Yeah,
oftentimes, like, so many people are left in the wake of that. And it's terrible. It's kind of crushing, you know. But
it
anyway,
is.
let's turn this back to the positive. Although I
Sure,
do think it's important to talk about sad things and to cry sometimes. I'm a
gotta
big
keep it
crier.
real.
Cool. So now you are a no coder. You're also now, I would call you an entrepreneur. Um, Tell us about your journey as an entrepreneur. You know, like, lately you also kind of launched this as kind of like a you have, I guess, a paid part of the community as well. Like,
Mhm.
what has been that process for yourself in terms of like launching this thing, and like, what are some, I guess, good pieces of advice that you would give to people who are now like in the audience thinking like, well, I want to launch a business. I want to try to become an entrepreneur. You know, I don't want to stay in this 9 to 5 life my whole life.
I wouldn't consider myself an entrepreneur. My wife does say that I have an entrepreneurial mindset, but to me, I look at the world as from a UX point of view, from a human interactions point of view, where UX doesn't start from a digital screen. UX starts when you wake up. Everything you experience, you are the user of the world. You are a human of the world. And whenever I see a flaw, like, what if I can make a website that can make things a little bit easier? What if I can make a tool that can make something a little bit easier? I want to do that. So if you can find that, if there's something in your world or something that you experience personally that you're like, I wish it could be easier. That's the idea. That, as simple as it is, I can make it. That's the idea. But then it'll grow into something bigger later on. Um, I started a YouTube channel because I wanted to tell people about Webflow. Now it's this crazy community website that I built with all these no code tools. And I started to charge for it. And I didn't want to charge for it. I even was talking to my IT neighbor. I'm like, I want to make it free because I just want people to join and learn. And he's like, no, if people are paying you on the side for doing their websites, you know, because I do freelance on the side, they value your time.
Yeah.
And if people are asking for your help, they should value your time as well. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'll do that. And so on my off time, if I have time, and I make sure that I make sure that I don't say specifically that I'm going to exactly help. This is just more for supporting the website. I want the website to run itself. Like all the overhead of the website, which is not much, around $300 a month. If it can pay for itself, then that's all that I want. You know?
Yeah.
And so that's how it grew. It just grew from hey, I want to tell people about Webflow. Hey, I want to help people Webflow. And going back to UX, you know, I'm a huge fan of whatever Elon Musk is building. Sometimes not a fan of what he says, but I mean that's, you know, imperfect. You have this user experience of driving, which sucks. And then now you have cars that can drive themselves. You know, that whole
So
user.
how about Neuralink net though? Because that gets a little choppy, right? It's like very interesting, but then it's like, where is this going?
Yeah, where is it going? But for medical purposes, to help people gain back like eyesight or movement in their limbs, or you know, to help with anxiety or any other type of thing, mental things, dude, I'm all for it. Let's help people, you know.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, and that's actually one of the devastating things that I've seen over time is like, as humans, we develop these technologies that are capable of such positive things, and then a huge amount of the use cases are terrible. You know, a huge amount of the way that that's brought to market is just not for the right purposes.
yeah.
And so it's somewhere along the line there is this question of like, you know, technology has a moral responsibility. And I don't know if you watched that. Like there was like a show that came out lately. It's like the Social Dilemma, where they talk about how addictive all these things are, and you have all these people from Twitter and Facebook and all that talking about like just basically how it literally is scientifically tricking people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so yeah, you know, and Facebook at first, man, I remember getting on Facebook and like meeting my old friends, and it brought so much value. And somewhere along the line, it took a turn, and that, you know, now they're feeling those repercussions in the media, but also in the way that they're running their company. And so it's kind of, I don't know, what do you think about that? Like the fact
Money.
that like, yeah, right, money just corrupts. Like, is there a solution to this? Control? I mean, is it?
It's a human nature. There's greed in the world. There's greed for power, you know, and we celebrate, or humans are naturally attuned to look at the problem, you know, like, oh my God, there's a problem. I'm gonna stare at this forever. I'm interested. Let me get my popcorn, and I'm just watching this problem over and over. And then I'm going to feel like the problem's all around me because I'm so tuned to watching and consuming this problem. And
That sounds like the UFC, basically. It's like a bunch of people watching people beat each other up, and it's like,
yeah, that's what, you know, Roman Colosseums. I mean, watching people die. I mean, that's, you know, nature. That's entertainment. Mm-hmm. But you know, it's just human nature just to watch that. And so when there's something positive happening in the world, it doesn't get as many clicks. It doesn't get many views. It's not on the media as much, you know, because it doesn't make money, you know, and it's sad. But the positivity is out there all the time. And it happens so much that when something bad happens, that one little bad thing that happens, we're like, oh, positivity, negative. Oh my God, I'm just going to watch this little piece of negative, even though there's positive happening all around me. Yeah. You know, I mean, whenever I'm driving, I stop at a four-way stop sign, and then people are going when they're supposed to go. That's positivity. I respect you as a driver. You respect me, and we're going to go at the times that at the right time in order. We're standing in line and we're waiting for each other's turn. That's positivity. And it happens all the time. I'm passing by someone as I'm jogging, you know, and I give a little nod or I smile, and then I get one back. That's positivity. But that happens all the time, and it doesn't get any clicks, it doesn't get views. But then if someone I'm passing by and then they yell at me, oh, hold on, let me record this so I can get the clicks and views and put it on TikTok and every social media, and I'm going to make money out of it. I'm going to get my 15 minutes. You know?
Yeah, I love that. I think what you're saying is like, we have a responsibility as humans to spread the good things that are happening, because there's already so much spreading of these negative things. And I agree to you. Like, sometimes it's just the small things, you know?
Small things. There's more small things out in the world.
Totally. No, I love that. And so, you know, you come from a background which is heavily UX oriented. You know, I would definitely say that you're also an entrepreneur, or have an entrepreneurial spirit at least. What kind of influence do you think you want to have? I know this is an incredibly loaded question, but like, when it comes down to it, like, it's important, I think, for all of us to stop the grind, and to kind of like, and to do things with purpose. And I think that like, there's actually this podcast called On Purpose, and I really like the idea of like, we are doing things with purpose. And and I try to apply that a little bit to my day-to-day life, where it's like, I'll do something with purpose. You know, sometimes you'll get caught in like rabbit holes, but like, to stop and be like, okay, what am I going to do with the next 50 minutes of my time? But on a larger level, like, do you have a specific purpose, or do you have something, an influence you'd like to have?
So when I continually see that my live streams or my videos or even just my tweets of tricks and tips using Webflow, people are like, oh my God, thank you so much. This helped me do XYZ. Or seeing stories of Webflow has helped me move back to my main country. Like someone emailed in and said I was using Webflow. No, sorry. I have a job in East Coast United States, but my family and my kid is back in Mexico, and I've been using Webflow as a side hustle, and I didn't really like my job, but I'm able to get paid US dollars on my freelancing gigs. And because he's been making so much money, so much more progress, he quit his job, moved back to Mexico, and he's still making US dollars from people anywhere around the world because he's able to do what he wants, which is
I love that. I love that. Man,
exactly. So
that is insane. Yeah.
So my purpose is to empower people with honesty and empathy. And that's what I learned within the Webflow team. Empower people to lead impactful lives with honesty and empathy. Because we can build stuff, but you have to make sure that what you build is honest and empathetic. And that's all I want to leave this world with. And recently watching Hamilton and that line, who lives, who dies, who tells your story, I hope that when I leave this world, it'll have some sort of positive impact, even if just a little, to help other people's lives.
Yeah.
And showing my daughter that it's possible, even in this crazy world, crazy world, especially this year that we're living in. It gets me sad, but I'm hoping that I'm adding a little positivity every day. And it's tough, but that's my goal.
I love that. I think that's a perfect end to this beautiful interview. I think that those were kind words. I think that more people should be thinking that way. I think that we have to come back. I think that there actually has been a very positive outcome from coronavirus, which is that a lot of people have been building more empathy, have been helping each other. I've seen it in my community. I'm sure a lot of other people have seen it in theirs. Nelson, thank you so much for coming on this show and for sharing your insight. Where can people find you?
I'm mostly on Twitter, twitter.com/thepixelgeek. My community site, if you want to join it, it's pixelgeek.community. I'm adding a lot of content as far as community-made tutorials, community-made no-code websites and apps on there. And also, you can subscribe if you want, youtube.com/pixelgeek. And that's it.
Very cool. Well, Nelson, I wish you all the best. I am excited to have more and more people like you in this community, on this show, and generally just, encouraging a positive outcome to this world that sometimes feels relatively difficult.
Yeah.
You have an awesome day.
You too. Thank you so much.